The glow of 3 moons stretched eerie shadows across the scarred fields of Velhar. Once the heart of a bustling metropolis, the land was now a graveyard of shattered stone, molten scars, and rusting wreckage. Ideal terrain for the infamous war games held every cycle. In high orbit, aboard the colossal observation ship Crown of Sithra, thousands of alien elites reclined in grav couches, sipping iridescent drinks and tapping in wagers across glowing hollow panels. These games were the crown jewel of the United Galactic Accord's entertainment empire, 30 systems united by their hunger for bloodsport. And now, a resonant voice echoed through the domed arena ship. The Zavrathi Dominion offers this cycle's highlight attraction. The crowd of multi-eyed, scale-covered, and amorphous spectators turned toward the central display sphere. A small, solitary drop pod began its descent toward Velhar's pitted surface. For your exclusive viewing, the announcer intoned, we present a relic of Earth, a Terran soldier once known as Commander Maraine Rix, formerly regarded as a high-level combatant on her primitive homeworld. Laughter bubbled through the crowd. Humans were an oddity, barely spacefaring, barely noted. Earth had been marked on a star map and forgotten. Occasionally a few were abducted for curiosity, experimentation, or, in rare cases, amusement. Overseeing the games, Lord Overseer Jarn of the Zavrathi clicked his chitinous jaws in amusement. I'm told this human survived 5 regional wars, he said to no one in particular, though his voice carried to the observation floor. Let's find out how long she lasts against trained opponents. Within seconds, bet screens lit up with action. The longest odds gave the humans 7 minutes. A few daring wagers stretched to 20. No one bet on survival beyond that. The drop pod hit Velhar with brutal precision, launching dust and ash in concentric waves. Inside, Commander Maraine Rix awoke. She was compact and sturdy, no more than 5'8", a frame of corded strength and hardened reflexes. Her striking green eyes flicked open beneath a fringe of vivid blue hair that shimmered in the dim light of the pod. Her skin was pale with a faint inner glow, marked with faint scars like constellations of a violent past. From beneath her hair peeked small, pointed ears, subtle augmentations from Earth's experimental units. The last memory she could cling to was a detonation on the edge of the Sion borderlands. Now, she was here. A synthetic voice rang through the tight cabin. Combatant designation, Rix Maraine. You have been chosen for the Dominion War Games. You will be released in 20 seconds. Survival probability, low. Exceptional performance may extend your lifespan. She scanned her surroundings quickly. No weapons, no gear, just a gray combat suit clinging to her form. Her training kicked in. Assess. Adapt. Survive. Current audience count, 15.2 billion, the voice added. Your performance reflects upon your species. With a hiss, the pod doors opened to reveal the ravaged terrain. Maraine stepped out, blinking against the unnatural luminance of the moons, the air thin but breathable. Gravity was heavier than Earth's, but manageable. Far above, countless camera drones hovered like mechanical fireflies, feeding the broadcast to worlds light years away. Our human challenger has arrived. The announcer's voice reverberated across both the planet and the galaxy. Current survival estimate, 6 minutes. A guttural roar sounded to her right. Emerging from the gloom was a hulking monstrosity, over 3 meters tall, cloaked in black armor plating, its 4 blade-tipped limbs thrashing as it charged. The audience shifted forward as one. First blood was a prized moment. Maraine didn't flinch. She stayed motionless, eyes locked on the incoming threat. Combat instincts honed over decades guided her. Everything alive had weak points. The moment the beast lunged, she dropped low. Its serrated claws passed through empty air. Rolling beneath it, she slammed her fist into a vulnerable joint behind the knee, causing it to stumble. Climbing onto its back in a fluid motion, she looped her arms around its exposed neck joint and twisted hard. A crack resounded across the battlefield. Silence fell across the observation ship. The human, has slain Kragash the Cleaver, the announcer said, stunned. Unarmed, unassisted, Maraine was already working. She pried a jagged blade from the creature's corpse, scavenged a crude firearm, and ripped a utility pouch from its belt. Bandages, something chemical, perhaps stimulant vials. 6 minutes have passed, came the update. She lives. Lord Overseer Jarn tilted his compound eyes, intrigued. Deploy the Hounds of Drexel. The games had officially begun. By the third planetary hour, the entire betting pool had turned on its head. The only question that remained, not if the human would fall, but how many would die before she did. Maraine Rix had already slain 22 contenders. She moved like a phantom through the shattered cityscapes, eyes burning with calm intensity, her blue hair trailing like a banner in the wind. Bits of scavenged armor clung to her form, symbols of the foes she'd outmatched. The glowing orbs in the sky above dimmed as if in reverence, casting the entire arena in a dreamlike underwater light. A goddess of war sculpted from desperation and steel. The galaxy was watching, and for the first time, it wasn't laughing. The ash was falling now, slow, weightless, soft as snow, coating Maraine Rix in a gray veil as she moved between the splintered ruins of what had once been a Velharan sky temple. Stone spires, blackened by fire and centuries of ruin, leaned like broken teeth around her. Her green eyes, luminous and unblinking, scanned the horizon, ever calculating. Above, the moons had shifted positions, casting intersecting beams of pale blue light over the arena. In those moments between battle, as the dust of the fallen settled and her blood cooled, she felt it, the world watching. Even through the camera drones and orbital scans, she sensed the eyes of billions, curious, hopeful, vengeful, amazed. Her breath came slow, her thoughts even slower. The crude armor she wore clinked as she knelt beside her latest kill, a chitinous warrior of the Starry Dominion. She removed a toxin injector from its hip belt and slid it into a strap fashioned from braided tendons. Its blade, long and curved like a bone scythe, was dulled but usable. She left its body where it fell, no time for rituals. A shimmer caught her eye. To her left, rising from the cracked earth like wraiths, came the Drexel Hounds, low to the ground, sleek, armored in interlocking metallic plates. Their mouths opened like unfolding steel flowers, revealing concentric rings of diamond-edged teeth. Their eyes glowed amber, fixed solely on her. She counted 4, no 5. One the shadow, clever. High above, in the crown of Sithra, Overseer Jarn leaned forward. "Let's see if she bleeds," he murmured to a quiet subordinate. In the ethereal blue glow that filtered from the moons and the orbs now rising from the ruined soil, Maraine looked more specter than soldier. Her radiant blue hair caught the wind, flowing like a banner of defiance. Her fair skin, pale and shimmering with sweat and soot, was streaked with grime and blood. Hers and not. A low growl rolled over the cracked plain. Then they lunged. Maraine didn't run. She moved. The first hound's leap ended in silence as her knee met its skull mid-air. It collapsed into a twitching heap. She spun, dodged a snapping jaw, jammed the toxin injector beneath a plate, and rolled as it screamed. A third lunged from behind. Her blade met its open maw with a crack of severed servos. But the fourth caught her leg. Metal teeth bit into her thigh, and she cried out, a sharp, involuntary sound, but pain was familiar, welcome even. It meant she was alive. Twisting, she drove her elbow into its eye, then shoved a blade into its neck joint until it stopped thrashing. The fifth pounced. Too close. A flash. One of the orbs hovering above exploded, and the creature's body was torn in half midair, raining sparks and molten bone. Maraine blinked. Her breathing labored. Sabotage? No. Intervention? No. Something else. Above, silence blanketed the observation vessel. Jarn stood from his throne. Impossible. The glowing orbs, the floating lights that had drifted unnoticed for hours, now moved. Slowly, deliberately, forming a spiral above Maraine. bathing her in a luminous cascade of shimmering cerulean. She stood, blood dripping from her leg, body swaying with fatigue, but her face was calm, resolved. Even as one eye swelled with bruising and her arms bore the tremor of exhaustion, she stood radiant, otherworldly. A whisper stirred across the alliance. Is she channeling something? The orbs, are they responding to her? That's not possible. They're atmospheric anomalies, energy blooms, not sentient. But somewhere deep within Velhar, something ancient stirred. Beneath the shattered temples, the ruins of a lost pre-galactic civilization slumbered no longer. Power, long dormant, had felt her presence, her defiance, her pain. And in Maraine Rix, the last warrior of Earth, it had found something it hadn't in eons. A vessel, a chosen. She collapsed to one knee, the pain in her leg flaring. A drone descended to her eye level, its lens whirring softly. Her reflection in its curved glass caught her off guard. Her pupils, once emerald, now shimmered with violet rings. Her blood, seeping from her thigh, pulsed faintly with light. She exhaled. I don't know what you are, she whispered to the air, to the orbs, to the ruins, but I'm not done. Above, in the crown of Sithra, chaos reigned. Wagers overturned. Biological scans rerun. Ancient energy spikes flooding the sensors. And Overseer Jarn, for the first time in 3 decades, felt something cold and unfamiliar crawl across his carapace. Fear. Smoke trailed from the wreckage of the last drone Maraine had downed, curling into the pale glow of Velhar's strange atmosphere. She limped forward through the ruin of stone and metal, past broken altars and shattered bones etched with symbols long dead. The orbs above her spun slowly now, like silent sentinels. Every motion hurt. Her leg throbbed from the Drexel hound's bite. Her shoulder ached where the starry had driven a spike into her flesh. Blood, bright against her skin, clung to her side like war paint. But her mind was clear. Her will was steel. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was becoming something else. Beneath her feet, the terrain changed. The dry, cracked earth gave way to smooth obsidian stone, ringed by concentric carvings glowing faintly blue. Symbols she didn't know, yet understood. As if some deep part of her remembered. She stepped forward, her footfalls echoing louder than they should have. A hush fell over the land. And then it spoke. Not in words. In memory. A flicker behind her eyes. A vision. A city of light and song, suspended in air, populated by beings with translucent skin and glowing eyes. The Velhari, lost to time. They had built this place before the stars had names, before the Alliance had drawn its borders. She saw them channeling the orbs, living energy drawn from the breath of the void, using them to shape thought into form, language and architecture, will into power. And she saw them fall, to war, to arrogance, to entropy, but not before sealing pieces of themselves in the planet, in the light, in the orbs. Waiting, she blinked. The vision faded. The world returned. A low growl tore through the silence. Her muscles tensed instinctively. She turned slowly, every nerve poised to strike. Behind her stood a new challenger. Not a beast, not a drone, a sentient, over 2 meters tall, clad in armor of polished black alloy edged in violet runes. Its helmet obscured its face, but its presence radiated menace and discipline. It wasn't here for sport. It was here for assessment. The watchers aboard Crown of Sithra recognized him at once. Gasps and chatter filled the observation decks. That's a warden of the unyielding. They never intervene. He's not part of the games. He's a relic enforcer. Overseer Jarn stood rigid. No one authorized this. But the warden moved of his own will, dropped from orbit without clearance, drawn, perhaps, by the same pulse that had awakened the ruins. The warden drew a long, curved blade. It shimmered with blue fire, the same hue as the orbs. Maraine exhaled slowly, still crouched, her stolen blade in one hand, the toxin injector in the other. Her hair, still glowing faintly, danced with unseen currents. The orbs above rotated faster, drawn into an accelerating pattern. This was no longer part of the game. This was initiation. The warden lunged. She parried barely. Sparks flew. Her shoulder buckled under the force. His speed was inhuman, honed through centuries of perfect form. She ducked a second strike and rolled sideways, hurling the injector like a dart. He caught it midair, crushed it. He moved with elegance. She moved with desperation. He swung for her leg. She leapt. Swung again. She ducked. Then instinct, not from training, from somewhere deeper. She called, not aloud, but inward. The light responded. The nearest orb flared, and a pulse of force struck the warden's chest, sending him sliding back several meters. The air shimmered with the echo of her will. She stared at her hands. The power was real, but still raw. He advanced again, faster now, angry. But this time she met him mid-charge, driving her blade under his arm, twisting. He staggered, but struck her full in the chest with a palm. She flew backward, hit the stone hard, gasping for breath. Her ribs screamed. Her vision blurred, but she rose. Every part of her broken body screamed to stop. But she rose. The orbs formed a spiral above her head now, faster, brighter, responding to her defiance, to her pain, to her purpose. The warden hesitated, took a half step back, perhaps not out of fear, but recognition. Then, a second vision, the Velhari again, one kneeling before another. The warrior kneeling had blue hair, radiant, glowing skin, green eyes, and pointed ears. She looked like her, not an accident, a pattern, a return. Back in orbit, chaos reigned. Scanners overloaded, streams lit with speculation. Religion, science, politics, it all blurred. And far beyond, on distant thrones across galactic space, sleeping factions stirred. Secret orders leaned forward, and in the dark corners of the galaxy, ancient beings whispered. The Velhari echo has awakened. The silence after the warden's retreat was deeper than the void between stars. Maraine Rix stood alone in the ruins, the glowing spiral of orbs rotating above her like a halo of starlight. Her wounds ached. Her leg still bled, but something beneath her skin was changing. Every breath pulled in not just air, but memory, resonance, power. She no longer belonged to Earth. She never had. The orbs had slowed, drifting into a gentle orbit above her. They pulsed in unison with her heartbeat now. Symbiotic, loyal. She closed her eyes and felt them. Not like tools, but like old friends. Lost parts of herself, scattered and found. She was Velhari reborn, and the games were over. High above, chaos rippled through the crown of Sithra. Feeds jammed, scanners offline. Jarn screamed at underlings, demanded explanations, reinforcements, deniability. But no one could explain what had happened. Because this wasn't war. It was return. She walked through the cracked temples, across a battlefield littered with the dead, toward the spire at the heart of Velhar, the ancient signal tower. The place where the Velhari once spoke to the stars. A beacon. At its base lay a massive obsidian door, overgrown with age. Her hand unconsciously lifted to it. The runes glowed before she touched it. It opened in silence. Inside, light. Soft. Welcoming. She stepped into the chamber. It was empty, except for the console at its heart. A crystalline altar. Not technology. Not magic. A convergence. As she neared, a final orb descended, larger than the others. It floated before her face, vibrating softly. And then, for the first time, it spoke, a voice like wind and water, layered in harmony. Maraine Rix, last daughter of Earth, first daughter of Velhar. You have awakened the echo. The cycle is broken. She didn't ask how. She didn't need to. The Velhari had seated themselves among other species long ago when their end was near. Their blood, their memories, their will, left behind, waiting for one who could endure enough pain to reawaken it. That was her. She was the key. Behind her, the remaining drones hovered, watching, broadcasting. She turned toward them. Let the galaxy see this. I was not your entertainment, she said, voice hoarse but unshaken. I was your warning. The beacon pulsed beneath her hand. Across the stars, dormant signals flared to life. Obelisks on dead worlds lit up. Buried relics stirred. A message spread like wildfire through the void. Velhur is awake. In the observation ship, dignitaries ran. System shut down. But it was too late. A new signal echoed across all known space, overriding even the strongest firewalls. A woman with glowing blue hair, piercing green eyes, and a voice that trembled with certainty. I am Velhari. The feed cut. Maraine stood in the beacon chamber as the light intensified. The orb spun faster, now forming not a spiral, but a crown above her head. And then, she was gone. Not dead. Ascended. Not in a legend. Not into myth. Into the network of memory. Into the starways. Into the buried systems of the Velhari, where no warden could follow. She had become what they feared most. A reborn sovereign of the Forgotten Empire. In the years that followed, the war games were banned. The crown of Sithra was decommissioned. But on backwater worlds and quiet stations, travelers still spoke of the blue-haired ghost. The soldier who stood alone against monsters and awakened gods. The human who reminded the galaxy what a single soul could become. A digital mural was painted in her memory. It showed her face, centered, glowing, vibrant blue hair flowing around her like silk. Her eyes were emerald flame. Her expression, calm, defiant, unbroken. Behind her, orbs spiraled in soft blue light, set against the dreamlike shimmer of the Velhurn ruins, half underwater, half starlit. The plaque beneath the mural read, Maraine Rix, last of Earth, first of the Velhari, breaker of the games, not forgotten,